You are listening to the TV Obsessive podcast, brought to you by TVObsessive.com.
Hello and welcome back to the TV Obsessive Podcast, episode 115. My name is Ryan Kirksey, writer and contributor for TVObsessive.com. I'm here once again with Cameron Crane, executive editor for the site. Based on something we're going to talk about today, I was inspired this week. Here it is, August, hot here in Texas. I went outside and I cooked dinner on a propane grill, just like a good Texan does. This is got inspired this week by something new show out. So that's what something I did this week.
Yeah, some Alamo beer.
Yeah, I don't have Alamo beer. No,
Is that a
no.
real beer?
I think there is an Alamo brand beer or an Alamo something beer. I don't think it's the same as what they talk about
Okay,
on the
because you
show.
never know. Like Duff is obviously fake,
Right,
right?
right.
I'm pretty sure, but there are a lot of regional beers out there, right? So like the fact that I've never encountered Alamo beer
Yeah.
doesn't mean it doesn't exist in Texas. You know what I mean?
There's an Alamo everything in Texas, as you might imagine.
Yeah. So you know what? Like I'm sure we could do a little research and we could find an Alamo craft beer or something like
Yeah.
that. You know, like it totally would not be,
It'll take
whatever Hank Hill and the guys are drinking in the alley. That's just like American Pilsner. You know, that's like Budweiser or something, right? And that comes up even. We're gonna talk. Well, we'll talk a little bit about it. Really enjoyed the. I guess we should say revival of King of the Hill.
That's right. I think that's right. Yeah.
I think that would be the right word, but yeah, it's August 9th already somehow. Kind of the dog days of summer. We're going to talk a bit about the Pitt in the latter part of the podcast today. This was Ryan's choice for something that came out this year that really had a lot of kind of buzz around it. It's got some Emmy nominations and all that sort of thing. So that'll be interesting. Spoilers will be on the table there in the latter part of the pod, but first, as per usual, we'll talk about some other things we've been watching, like King of the Hill. We might as well start there and hit on some news items and so on and so forth. So, Ryan, the King of the Hill revival came out on Monday, and they dropped all 10 episodes at once.
hmm
Have you watched it?
I am in the fifth episode right now, so I've made it through four. It's almost halfway done. But yes, all 10 episodes dropped at once. Did go back, I think as we talked about last week, watch the episodes leading up into this new season, which is a little bit confusing when you go and try to do that because there were four that aired later, but they actually were supposed to, I guess, in the timeline be before the finale that aired in May of 2009. So watched all those, ready for the season. But yeah, it's just basically you pick up within the first couple minutes of some exposition of what's happened in the past 15 years, and you're off and running.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter.
No.
I didn't find time to do that. We were talking about it last week, and I had the thought of like, oh, maybe I'll revisit those final episodes, And then I hadn't done it, and then it was Monday, and the new stuff was out. And I was like, well, I want to watch the new stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I looked
Yeah.
at the episode descriptions from the end of season 13. I was like, oh, I vaguely remember this, and it's not going to matter. You know
No,
what I mean?
no. I think that the intended finale is to Sirloin with Love, where Bobby is a prodigy at grading and evaluating cuts of meat, and there's no reference of the hills moving overseas or anything that we find as we start with this new season.
No, I think Luann gets married, right?
Yeah, yeah.
No mention of Luann in the revival, which is probably the right tack to take. I have to say, like overall, and we won't get into spoiler territory too much. I don't know like
Yeah.
how much it matters for a show like this, but I don't
Right.
want to piss anyone off. Oh, I watched it yet. Don't tell me about the beer. Um, but I thought that what they did was just really kind of genius with the time jump. It all actually kind of hangs on the time jump,
Yeah.
which also doesn't make sense, and there's absolutely no way to make the timeline line up. So if anyone listening hasn't watched this yet and is tempted to fall into that little rabbit hole, I've done it. There's no way to make it line up whatsoever.
Yeah.
All right. Because like we're told in the reboot that Bobby is like 21,
Right, right,
you
right.
know. So it hasn't been 15 years because he wasn't 6 years old.
He was at Tom Landry Middle School last we
Yeah,
saw.
so it's like then there's some other stuff too, but there is some kind of spoiler territory. But um I think also by having the backstory where Hank and Peggy went to Saudi Arabia, um it manages to like there was some stuff, I don't know if you saw any of this on the internet where like someone like wrote an article or something about like whether Hank Hill would have voted for Trump.
Yeah.
And the show manages to just like totally sidestep that in a way that works. In a way that works,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
No, I've really enjoyed, I'll finish it this weekend. I really enjoyed these first four or five. I'm gonna finish them and then I'm gonna be like, man, I'm sad that there's these 10 and that they're gone and that's it.
This is exactly what happened to me. I think I told you earlier in the week, maybe on Tuesday or something. Like it's like, oh man, this is great. That I'd watched the first four episodes, so maybe I'm like in the same spot, was in the same spot you are right now, and just tore through four episodes, and then started thinking to myself, man, I want to save some of this. I want to
Yeah.
savor this because
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really do think it's really good. And I hope they make more. I don't see any reason they can't make more.
I agree. Totally
Um,
agree.
but so then I went back to it, just like immediately binged the last six episodes.
Oh yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the second time I put it on, I just like immediately watched the last six episodes.
I'm sure that's what I'll end up
Um,
doing with these last six or five and a half that I have left. Once one ends, I've just been, if at all possible, moving on to the next one. It was only a commitment of something else that stopped me from watching it. It wasn't that I wanted to drag it out, but now that I'm remembering what you did, I may want to just say, okay, let's sort of parse this out a little bit at a time so I can at least savor it a little bit.
yeah, you can try, but it's very good, and yeah, I guess without going into spoiler territory about it, and about all to say. But if anyone out there was, I mean, I think the big thing I saw a couple people when they announced it and so on and so forth, and it became clear what they were doing with the time jump. I saw some people kind of maybe complain about the idea of Bobby being older, because
Yeah.
like most animated shows, people don't age,
Right.
you know,
Right.
and they certainly could have brought it back without aging anyone. They could have had like Bobby still in middle school. But I think the fact that they push Bobby to like a college aged adult is really what they're able to mine for a lot of what makes this new stuff as good as it is.
Yeah, I completely agree. The dynamic between Bobby and Hank and Peggy now is, I mean, it certainly is as good. And I just find the themes, the things that they're discussed in the first four episodes, some of the ways that they're put up against each other, I just have found to be really interesting. And it does have to do with the fact of the ages and the stages of life that they're in.
Yeah. Yeah. And in the first one, like it's one of those delayed credits things. They
Yeah.
released the agent, they released those time lapse credits a while ago, and we talked about it on here, so people have probably seen it even before the show. But I thought that was really well done too. How
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
like it was one of those things where it takes you through the first episode, and then the credits hit practically at the end of the episode,
Exactly.
and it was like I don't know, emotionally resonant or something when those credits hit. So King of the Hill is back.
That's right.
Anyway, yeah, I'm enjoying that a lot. Also, I've been watching some of the preseason football. I don't know, man. Is there a
Yeah.
reason? It's just like, and I've also done some really degenerate stuff like a $1 DFS ticket on preseason football.
Yeah, man,
Um,
you're a sicko if you're DFSing
yeah, you do
season
daily
game.
fantasy because it's like you're actually at the point of just trying to guess who's going to play.
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean? But we got that going on, and then Hard Knocks starting up. Yeah, I haven't watched any of this yet. Is
Yeah,
it?
so Tuesday night, HBO Hard Knocks came back. They are at Buffalo Bills camp this week. I mean, this is become a for me and a lot of football fans become a must watch. But I had sort of shaky feelings coming out of it. Maybe it's because of something I saw on social media that this comment really resonated with me. This first episode is just here's where the Bills train, here's who the players are, just love story to football. We're all excited. This is going to be hope springs eternal. Just sort of typical first episode of Hard Knocks that you see every year. But I saw a comment on social media that said does this show really resonate anywhere near where it used to because we are so close to and have so much information and are so in the lives of players already, in ways that they communicate, ways that they're in the public. It's like we didn't learn anything new. We don't know anything more that we didn't learn already. So I don't know, just people commenting that maybe this show sort of lost its luster because before it was these mythical, NFL gridiron players that you had no access to. Now we see and hear about them every day. They had a whole section on Josh Allen's wedding to Haley Stanfield. It's like, well, that's been covered ad nauseum and 1,000 different outlets. So we didn't really learn anything at the show this week.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that way a little bit. I saw someone, actually, I think it was like Mike Florio talking about this recently about it. Like, oh, Hard Knocks is coming back, and like, okay, yeah, I'll probably watch it. But it was basically saying things along the lines of what you were saying, and then he noted that the only good Hard Knocks recently was the New York Giants off-season
Yes,
Hard Knocks,
yes.
which they will never do again. No one will ever do it again because they actually like the amount of inside knowledge you got or whatever uh was problematic for the New York
Yes.
Giants. Or at least Florio thinks so. Again, there's probably something to that sentiment. But I was thinking about that one too, again this year, and thinking that what would be really great and what would really grab me is if they kept doing the off-season one and
Mm.
it was the Giants every year.
Yeah, but they are never doing
You know what I
it.
mean? You just stick with the Giants again this year, right? Like that's what would have been interesting.
NFL makes
Uh,
them do it. Yeah, it's because they're such a train wreck.
yeah. Um, but okay, so we got a few things in the news this week, not a ton. We've talked about the Office spin-off, The Paper,
Hmm.
a few times on here before. It's coming now next month. It's on the horizon. It's got a trailer.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, we've got a trailer. We've got Oscar back saying he doesn't want, in the trailer, he doesn't want to be a part of it. We've got Domhnall Gleeson, who people may know him from his, this is a British guy in a lot of very, I think, interesting British roles, trying to play now a Toledo-based editor-in-chief of a paper who's American. They certainly are going for the Office vibe on this, with the
Yeah.
music, with the characters, with the sentimentality. I will probably give it a couple of episodes, but I can't say the trailer made me think, oh, this is something where I've got to see it.
Yeah, agreed. We'll see. Um, I want to say like you that I'll probably check it out more out of curiosity than
Yeah,
anything.
yeah.
But I'm a bit doubtful that there's a chance. I don't think it's going to grab me. You know what I mean? I just
Yeah,
don't think
I don't
it's.
think so either. Now, I will say Sabrina and Impacciatore, I have to make sure I get that right, who was on our season 2 of White Lotus. That is a little bit of a hook. I thought she was fantastic in that season. So, see what her character is like. But as you said, I will be curious to see what they've done and not surprised if I don't finish the season. We'll see.
The premise is kind of interesting.
Yeah,
And in contrast to The Office, I think in a certain way, because with The Office, it's they sell paper, which is like the
right.
most boring thing you can imagine.
That's right.
The premise here apparently is a newspaper, which we knew, right? But
Mhm.
when we first started hearing about this, I guess maybe I was under the impression that it was going to be like a dying, struggling local newspaper,
Yeah,
which it is, I guess.
yeah.
But instead of it being like a struggling local newspaper staffed with gritty old reporters who are down on their luck now, it's like they're getting
Yeah.
volunteer journalists.
Yeah.
Is that happening in the world for real anywhere? I don't know, but it's kind of an interesting premise in certain ways. It also is kind of depressing to me, but whatever.
Yeah, this paper is trying to survive by, as you said, bringing in inexperienced, seemingly, well, in some cases, maybe incompetent journalists that can try to save this paper and brought in this, I don't know if he's a hotshot kid from somewhere else who's done good things and try to save this paper, but you can already sort of tell through the trailer that there's going to be a love interest that, it's sort of he's playing sort of this hybrid Michael Scott and Jim character. So we'll like I said, we'll see, but not I don't know. Just like you said, more curious than anything.
Yeah, yeah. I want to trust Greg Daniels, of course,
Yes.
also involved with King of the Hill, which we were just talking about.
Right.
I want to trust Greg Daniels, but not sure I do. Not sure about this one. Some show creators that I guess I do trust, although I haven't watched everything. The Kings, Robert and Michelle. Um, we've talked about them a bit on here before. I'm still at the level where it's like I watched The Good Wife and thought it was really good, and then I didn't watch The Good Fight, and I watched some of Evil. I don't know. You watch any of these shows?
I have never seen an episode of Good Wife or Good Fight. I think you have recommended Evil to me before, or maybe you said it was worth at least checking it out. But I cannot say that I've consumed really any of this couple, Robert and Michelle King, any of their content.
Right on. Well, we've got a new one in the works. Got Mike Coulter, who at this point is becoming like a staple actor in their, King of Verse. Although I'm like the shows aren't all in the. I don't think Evil's in the same universe as The Good Wife.
Right. Yeah.
Um, but you've got The Good Wife, The Good Fight, and then Elizabeth. Now those are all, and I'm not sure if this new one is. Probably not, I guess, because I don't think Mike Coulter is reprising his character from The Good Wife or anything like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, Cupertino, I don't know how to say it. One of those. Another legal drama going to come to CBS.
Yeah.
Um, Hopefully it's good. I still feel bad that I never watched The Good Fight, and I've seen people say um, really praise the show.
Yeah.
I've just
Yeah.
had this feeling that that it tried to be timely
Hmm.
and that I missed it. So I don't know if I'm wrong about that.
Yeah.
Like if anyone out there wants to let me know, like, oh, well, I know, Cameron, you'll still enjoy it. It'll hold up. You didn't have to
Yeah.
watch it while it was airing. I was thinking about that a little bit in reference to like Law and Order, which I used to watch reruns of on TNT all the
Hmm.
time or whatever. And then when I'd watch Law and Order when it was like currently airing,
Yeah.
it's all ripped from the headlines or whatever.
Exactly.
But I
Exactly.
actually kind of liked it better when it wasn't as fresh in my mind. So like maybe it would work if I checked out The Good Fight. I don't know. Still on my long list of like shows that I should watch. But I mean, you know how this works, right? Like it's like basically I risk of oversimplifying it. As I understand it, it's almost like The Good Fight is The Good Wife without the main
Yeah.
characters.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like take the main characters out and you've got at least a number of what were more secondary characters as the main characters on The Good Fight.
Yeah.
I think that's a simple kind of line on it, which is interesting.
Well, I'm a Mike Coulter fan. I was maybe I don't know if I'm the minority of this or what. I did enjoy him as Luke Cage when he played in that Marvel series for a couple of seasons. I actually had hoped at some point he would come back and do that. But I'm a fan of his. Not that I say this is going to be appointment viewing, but he usually does an incredible job whatever he's on.
Yeah, I enjoyed the first season of Luke Cage as well. I don't think I watched the second season. There's two seasons of that, right?
There are two seasons. Yeah, the first one with Mahershala Ali is quite good, and then that second season is not quite that level.
Yeah, it kind of feels like all those Netflix Marvel shows, they say, oh, that was successful. Let's make more.
Yeah.
It was like, let's
Yeah.
make more until the point where it's not really as good or
Right.
something. Goosebumps has been canceled on Disney Plus. Never got around to checking this one out, this latest iteration of Goosebumps. I did hear some good things. What about you? Did you check this out at all?
I've never really seen this. This Goosebumps stuff always catches my eye just because I read so many of these books growing up. This was
Yeah.
just had them in the house. We'd read so many of these things, and I don't know, maybe that led me to sort of I was just pulling for this thing to succeed. Obviously, it had David Schwimmer, it had a couple of interesting teenager actors in this, but just after two seasons, it seems like it got some okay numbers, particularly in the first season, but the second season really fell off. So Disney Plus said, never mind.
Well, it's weird because I mean, I guess they took it an anthology route, which
Hmm.
makes sense, right? Because with Goosebumps. But just from talking to people who saw the first season and enjoyed the first season, there were things in the first season that they hoped would carry over, and then I think they just
Uh,
didn't, you know.
Yeah, see, that
So
you'll lose people that way, certainly.
I think that might have been a part of it, that with season two, it was just like, oh, it's a entirely new thing,
Yeah.
where there was stuff from season one that people, I don't know, wanted more resolution on or wanted to carry over or something. I'm just going on what people told me. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
It
you know,
does say Sony Pictures will try to find a new home for it. So there'll always be some, tween interest and Goosebumps and young adult stuff. So it might land somewhere else.
yeah, it's always possible. Let's see. Last thing, South Park. I haven't. Have you watched these South Parks? I mean, these have become like news items,
Yeah.
official White House responses to South Park going on and stuff.
No, I can't say I have seen these first two episodes of South Park in this 27th season, but there was so much uh, just buzz literally everywhere. And, Donald Trump referencing it, it being all over the news, being all over social media. They basically, after this first episode where they had Donald Trump in bed with Satan for a couple of scenes, I think they've doubled their viewership. So people are very interested to see what South Park is going to do with the Trump administration this time.
Yeah, I mean, I was hearing so much about it. Um, I said maybe I'd watch it, but it's a little bit confusing too, because South Park has been on HBO Max, but now it's on Paramount Plus, right?
Right.
The new season's on Paramount Plus. I'm told,
Yeah.
right? So, not currently subscribed to Paramount Plus, with apologies to the company. But people were buzzing about the South Park. So
Yeah.
I'm on my Hulu, and through Hulu, I could get the Paramount Plus add-on for a free 1 week trial.
Okay.
So I thought, oh, well, maybe I'll just go ahead and do that. I'll watch the South Park that everyone's been talking about, right? Not there.
Really?
It was not on Hulu.
Hmm.
So, like, even with the Paramount Plus add-on, I couldn't get it through Hulu. I don't know if anyone else experienced this approach, just me.
That's
And I,
interesting. I did finally break down and keep my Paramount Plus subscription, and so I have seen it there. I wonder if this is a Disney overlord, like we're not putting that in connection with our family content thing. That doesn't really make much sense if you're trying to bring over the whole Paramount Plus library. I'm not really sure.
yeah, or I don't know if it was because it's in transition
Hmm.
from HBO Max to Paramount Plus or something. You're right. Like, I went to the Paramount Plus site and could see the episode there. However, through the Paramount Plus site, they did not want to offer me any free trial.
Yeah.
So it was like a weird thing where I signed up for the free trial on Hulu. I had it for a week. I checked multiple times that, like, it never showed up.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know if I care enough to pay the monthly subscription to watch South Park at this point. I mean, I can't believe South Park's been on. I mean, like, I remember when South Park started, right? Like,
Yeah.
we were in
Oh
high
yeah.
school
Oh
in
yeah.
the late 1990s,
That's right. That's right. Well, they're
Um,
apparently going all in on Trump and Homeland Security and ICE and everything this season. So I don't know that I'll check these out, even though I have the ability to do so now. But there are plenty of people who are, based on the numbers in the first two episodes.
it seems like I've gathered that they're also doing some of the old Saddam Hussein stuff with Trump.
Mm.
Like, hey, relax, guy, you need a nap. I think they're having Trump do something. I don't know. Anyway, maybe I'm wrong on that. I haven't seen it, but yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
people are talking about it, and then those guys also got paid. I did think that was kind of funny, because putting this all together, they canceled the Late Show with Stephen Colbert.
yes,
People speculated that it was in part because of his criticisms of Trump and the relations between Paramount and Trump and the merger with Skydance and all that kind of stuff. And then it's like a couple days later, it's like Trey Parker and Matt Stone get $1 billion for South Park or whatever. I mean,
yeah.
like, just like, it's an obscene amount of money. And then the new season premieres, and that's the episodes we're talking about, where Trump is Satan's the new lover and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
um I don't know if that should make us turn around and say, "Oh well, I guess Paramount Plus isn't so much in the bag for."
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how to read all of that together, but
We
um,
didn't talk about, I don't know if you saw it, the Jon Stewart episode after the Colbert News came out. Did you happen to watch that?
I did not.
So it was interesting. I mean, he saved it for kind of the third segment, but he went all in on this and how devastating and demoralizing and what a terrible decision he thought that it was. And then basically just went on this monologue about, anyone that sort of bows to this administration, the people within it are cowards and all of the, I mean, did not hold back and even ended that segment with I guess he and the writers came up with a song essentially titled "Go F Yourself" if you're one of these people that bows down to this, and he put a gospel choir behind him, and they sang on this whole thing. So it was quite the statement. But there's been no news about his show or anything like that. He's largely gotten away with whatever it was he did there.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's like I certainly think if any like late night comedy show gets canceled for political reasons, that's bad. I mean,
Yeah,
if it feels like government censorship, I would oppose it, regardless of the political angle. I mean, if it were a different set of circumstances or whatever, I just think that's bad. Freedom of speech, all that kind of stuff.
yeah,
Um, I guess part of the question is, do we fully read what happened with Colbert that way? You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
and
yeah. That was basically
that's some question there.
The Stewart context, which is I don't know, but if it was, let me tell you what my message is for you. So that was sort of how he got away with it.
Yeah. And I mean, of course, it feeds into that you do have, in the aftermath of the Late Show being canceled, Donald Trump going on social media, celebrating it and
Yeah, yeah.
saying he wants other people canceled, like Jimmy Kimmel and so on and so forth. So it's like, well, it lines up anyway with what he wants, whether that's why they did it or not. Anyhow, enough of that. Not too political. Talk about the pit.
Let's do it.
All right. So spoilers will be on the table here for season one of The Pit after our brief musical interlude. And we'll be back with you in just about 10 seconds.
Okay, we are back to talk about The Pit, season one that aired on HBO Max. 15 total episodes that's debuted in January of 2025. The show was created by and R. Scott Gimel. He also served as showrunner. At the Pittsburgh Trauma Medical Center Emergency Room, Dr. Michael Rabinovich, or Dr. Robbie, leads a group of doctors, nurses, and new medical student residents through a long and traumatic 15-hour shift. The team deals with various personal and professional challenges, including children suffering from traumatic injuries and the hospital being the trauma center of record for a mass shooting at a nearby music festival. All of this occurs on the fourth anniversary of Dr. Robbie's mentor's death, who died at the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic. As you've referenced before, sort of a hit out of nowhere. I don't want to say out of nowhere because this is a medical drama starring Noah Wiley and his success that he had on ER before, but this for a variety of reasons, maybe because of the content, maybe because of the response from the medical community, just sort of really took off. And as you mentioned, has 13 Emmy nominations now. So, any
Yeah.
thoughts? You had some impressions of this show as you tried to watch it, but also thoughts on sort of why maybe this sort of took off this spring.
Yeah, so I do think it's really interesting that it did feel like it came out of nowhere in a certain way, insofar as it was one of those shows where it at least all of a sudden felt to me like everyone was watching it, quote
Yeah.
unquote. Um, including like TV critics and the like who I follow on Blue Sky and stuff like that, who were praising it, who were into it, and they were, posting about it regularly and all of that kind of stuff. And really gave me the impression that there is a certain appetite out there for what feels like an almost an old school style of TV show compared to a lot of the stuff we've gotten over the past, I don't know, decade or more. that's felt a bit more like trying to be whatever kind of prestige drama or whatever, that this is more like a medical drama like ER or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, I don't know, in terms of why it became so popular, do you have more thoughts about that along those
Yeah.
sorts of
I,
lines?
I think that you and I are on the same track there. It's sort of because this became a show after I want to say my wife and I watched a 4 or 5 after they had come out, just right in a row. And then after that, it became it sort of scratched the itch of, oh yeah, I forget what it was, if it was Thursday night or Tuesday night, every Thursday we could count on this coming back. We would enjoy it. We were going to watch it at the same time. It just kind of felt like that old, yeah, that we were looking forward to something on a certain night of the week. It could entertain you without you having to be as attentive to every minute little detail. You could catch the threads that it's pulled through the whole season. There were things that just popped up and were concluded in one episode. So a lot of that, as you said, just sort of old feel of you could just count on it week to week to being good and being entertaining, and you knew it was going to be there. And also, 15 episodes. It's a long season compared to what we get now.
Yeah, when do we pin that to? I mean, it must have been, because you're absolutely right. Right at this point, it feels like 10 episodes or
Yeah,
something.
yeah,
At most, a lot of these shows will come out, and you're like, oh, only going to be 8 episodes.
that's right. That's right.
Like we're going to move here on the pod to talk about Alien Earth, and they're premiering
Yeah,
2 episodes on Tuesday, and then I think it's only like 8 episodes overall. So it was like,
that's right.
well, all right, we'll be doing that for uh,
7 weeks.
a month and a half.
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, that's to the side. Hopefully, people will join us though as we talk about that, and hopefully, it's good. But yeah, I mean, I definitely got the impression that from what you're saying, and then okay, so I'll cut to it in terms of my experience with the show.
Hmm.
So to you listening, what we did here the past couple weeks was basically each choose a show, that's been on this year that we hadn't talked about on the podcast. Last week we talked about Paradise, which we both already seen. The Pit, which was Ryan's choice. I had not seen. I had not watched it at all, though I'd heard a little bit about it. And as I told you, Ryan, earlier in the week, I tried and I really could not. I found myself like unable to watch this show almost physically.
Yeah.
How surprising do you find that? Yes. Because it seems like everyone likes it. You're like, oh, this is a great thing. We can look forward to it each week and so on. Um, I guess I should talk about why.
Yeah. To what do you attribute that? Do you think that it just sort of didn't catch you or just wasn't your thing that you wanted to keep going with it? Because I don't know if it's a different experience. I mean, again, watch four, then we watch week to week. If it's trying to, I assume it's not a matter that it was a daunting 15 1 hour episodes. There was something else about it that,
No, it was in the style of the show itself.
okay.
So I turned on the first episode, thinking, hey man, if this is as good as everyone says, maybe I'll binge the 15 episodes by the time we do the podcast.
Yeah.
And starts out doing fine. Noah Wiley's like commuting to work. So
Yeah.
far, so good. But like it was basically like once you get to the hospital that I started really struggling. So I'd gotten about 10 minutes into the episode and so I'll turn it off. And I was like, well, maybe I'll come back to this later. And then the next night or whatever, I turned it on and I managed to watch like 5 more minutes. And that was about all I could handle. And I did really start thinking about, okay, like what is my problem with this show? And I do think the biggest thing is in how it's shot. And I think we've actually talked about this before. This might be really particular to me, although I'd be curious to you
Hmm.
know, discover fellow travelers out there, like if other people have this problem. But this is where I would compare it to potentially Succession, which I couldn't get into Succession,
Right.
and also I could never watch Veep,
Mm. Oh, I
and
didn't realize that. Oh man.
I think part of it is and I apologize, I don't have all the technical terms necessarily, but there's like a handheld camera kind of style,
I see.
you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
I want to say pan and scan, but I know that's not the right term because that's the term that they used to use when they were like taking a widescreen film and making it fit TV
Yeah.
for right. It's not bad. Shaky cam is a term that's out there. It doesn't feel quite right because it's not like it's totally shaky, but you know
Yeah.
what I mean. It's constantly like a handheld camera, and it pans from one person to another as opposed to like cutting from one shot to another.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something about that feels, and it makes me anxious.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
And the thing is, I think it's meant to, but for me, it's like too much. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So, like, why are they shooting it like that? You want this style of, oh, it's in the hospital, it's chaotic, there's all this stuff going on, it's sort of frenetic, and then the way that it's filmed feeds into that,
Yeah.
right?
I think that I listened to after we watched the show, I listened to a lot of Noah Wiley's interviews about this because he just sort of was everywhere for a couple of months. It seems to me that he and Scott Gimel, they mm, created this to be sort of an anxiety-filled show on purpose, right? To sort of mimic what the conditions are like in these trauma emergency room hospitals. And they apparently got a lot of feedback from medical community saying, you've represented this well. But again, if that's something, there were certain parts of it where I was like, oh man, I can't watch that, or that's hard for me to see, or I don't, because you can get a lot more on the screen on HBO than you can on NBC, if you're talking
Yeah.
about ER. But the medical community, I think, largely told them, this is a pretty accurate representation, but it was meant to sort of make you feel how they feel during these traumatic shifts. And so I think that was intentional.
I think so too. That's the thing, right? So it's like I'm not at all trying to really levy a criticism against the show. It's much
Yeah.
more of a, well, I don't think this is for me.
Yeah.
And how much can I make I still was thinking, well, I'm gonna make myself watch at least the first and last episode. We're gonna talk about it on the podcast, you know.
Yeah.
But that second night when I was going back to it, I thought, why am I doing? I don't want to do this to myself. I'm just going to tell Ryan I can't do it. So that's why I decided, like, well, I could talk about that. So yeah, I mean, I think they do want to provoke that kind of anxiety and tension, and that. Then the other part of it is the medical trauma side.
Hmm.
I never really watched ER.
Yeah.
I have this feeling like, it was on here or there. I mean, things were different when we were younger, where it would just be like, well, of course, the popular show was on
Yeah.
somehow. It was just like it was on the one TV in the family residence, you know what I mean, or
Definitely.
something like that. But I never really watched. I never really got into it, and I guess maybe I thought that was something like of an oversight, but in part, I wasn't terribly interested. So I think that that's the other level of this when it comes to this kind of medical drama. I'm
Yeah.
just not really interested. So
Yeah.
instead of it feeling like, oh, this is compelling, tension-filled scene, it lands to me as like, this is chaotic and
Mm.
it's making me anxious and I want to get
Yeah.
out of here.
Yeah. Yeah. I absolutely understand. And I think I would predict that's a more common sentiment, a common reaction to the show that maybe we might think, yeah, a lot of people watch it, but I mean, certainly there are people that would say this is just a little bit too much. Not that it shows too much or it's too graphic, but that the sense of the combination of how it's shot, how it works, how they're interacting with one another, how we can talk about this idea of this is 15 consecutive hours of one shift. So it's not ER where last week you left those people behind largely and you moved on to new things. Like you're sort of constantly grappling with these questions of what to do with these people. So yeah, it's just you're sort of sucked into this thing and it's hard to escape it.
I do think that's conceptually interesting. You know what I mean? That's the thing, right? Like the idea of it being one shift and the way that you
Mhm.
get that sort of episodic serial structure and all of that. Um, I think part of what happened when I was trying to watch it, when once you started getting into that stuff where they
Yeah.
are dealing with patients, um, in a weird way, I almost couldn't pay sufficient attention.
Mm,
I don't know. They're like, it's like, oh, this is too kind of hectic that I started like zoning out or something. If I don't know if that makes any sense really when it
yeah,
comes down to
yeah.
it, but
No, listen, I mean, this is why these shows are worth discussing because they hit one way with certain groups of people, or some people see it a certain way, and others don't. That's what makes them, what makes them interesting. There's a lot of bland stuff out there, and this is, not that, but it hits people in a different way. That's why it's worth it talking about.
yeah, I do think the big thing is like whatever that term is for the filming style.
Yeah,
Like I
yeah.
almost need to know because it's becoming apparent to me, and this is just like an individual me thing,
Right.
that whatever it is, like no matter how good or critically acclaimed the show is, if it's shot that way, probably not going to be able to do it.
Yeah.
Because yeah, I mean, I had that. You do you follow what I'm saying? Because I feel like Veep was a similar kind of thing.
Yeah, it's almost this pseudo documentary. You're there, and we're following you as this happens. We're not interviewing you or doing office style things, but that we want you to feel like you're in the room with these people, as opposed to you're just an outsider, just sort of viewing it from afar. There's a lot, to your point, there's a lot of that now. We want you to feel like you are in there with these people, and they're right up in your face.
Yeah, that one episode of The Bear was a little bit similar too, but I powered through that one. I had to take a break,
Yes,
but
yes.
that was worth it for me. The Finch's episode of The Bear, that was worth it for me because like I'm invested in these characters and all of that kind of stuff,
Right.
you know. Whereas I didn't even really get far enough with the Pit to feel like I knew the people or get invested in them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I do think, just to circle back to something we talked about, I do think one of the more interesting parts of the show was to model it after one shift, do the 24 version of this, right? Where there's no real break. You are following this 12-hour shift, and then it adds on hours at the end because of some traumatic things that happened towards the end of the season. I thought that was compelling in the sense that you can dig a little bit deeper in some of the cases that are interesting. You can dig a little bit deeper into the lives of these people, and there is time to do that. And there are ramifications of decisions made 6 hours ago. What happens now? And at one point, one of the nurses is punched by a patient who's not happy with what is going on, and so how does that affect her the rest of the shift? So just these types of things that can continue on. Whereas again, if this was ER or another medical drama, that would be largely in the past.
yeah, do you want to talk at all more about some of these plot elements? I mean, I went through and I read plot summaries, um, in terms of, you mentioned the mass shooting that occurs, and they're dealing
Hmm.
with the aftermath of that. Um, there's also an abortion storyline, right? I don't know. Do you
Yes,
want to dig in on any of this stuff? And we said
there's
there'd be
yes.
spoilers.
I just found the diversity of these things, and again, I have no experience. I've never spent much time or worked in these sort of arenas. Just the diversity of things that they were able to pull out, was seemingly, I'm sure, from real life situations that consultants and other people gave them. I found, in a weird way, I almost found the mass shooting thing to be, it was interesting, particularly the episode where they're trying to figure out what to do and how to do this, how to treat all of these people at once that are coming in, and they're overwhelmed, and having to make decisions about who can and can't make it, and move bodies here and other people
Yeah,
but it's almost
triage.
like, yeah, it's almost like you could predict that something like that was going to happen, right? That was the big climactic, dramatic thing. I almost found the more intimate, smaller things more interesting. The one-on-one things, the sort of middle-aged brother and sister that are trying to decide whether or not to go against what the doctor says they should do so they can extend their father's life, even though it's going to be a lot more painful for him. Those are the things I found more interesting. It was certainly dramatic with the mass shooting stuff, but those sort of more character emotional beats hit, I think, a little bit harder for me.
Right on. Cool. Yeah. Oh, so one thing I was thinking about, And again, hopefully people are finding this conversation interesting. If you tuned in for a discussion of the Pit, and then you hear that I'm saying I didn't watch it. Um, but what do you think about, you mentioned ER, right? And I mentioned how I never really got into watching ER either. And I think that that's the most direct parallel here, right? I haven't really gotten into watching other medical dramas all that much either. It's just never really been my thing. But the one exception I would make would be House, which is, I think, meaningfully different. So I don't know.
Yes.
Is it worth
Yes.
talking at all about how that's different from a show like this?
I did find this show. I found it certainly different, and I love House. Love that show. Think I've seen every episode of House. And but found some things relatable to that in that one of the interesting things about House certainly is the mystery of what this is, how to treat it, what to do with it. There's some of that happening in the pit, and it's all very reactionary, fast paced. We have to make a decision now, have to come up with something immediately so we can try to save this, this emergency room patient's life. But yeah, the house part of it beyond just the personality of Hugh Laurie, that's his name, right? Hugh
Yeah,
Laurie.
yeah, yeah.
Just I think really captured me because it was so different and so just off the beaten path of the traditional medical drama. So I'm just a fan of both of those. I loved House.
Yeah. But House is probably not realistic at all. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? That like, and also, I was thinking about this a bit. House, I enjoy House. Maybe it's because it's Sherlock Holmes. You know
yep.
what I mean? It's like
Good
it's
analogy. Yeah,
not really a medical drama so much as a mystery show. It's both, right? Um, but yeah, at least for me, I don't know. This feeling of we're in the emergency room and dealing with all of these crises, um, just doesn't grip me in a weird
yeah,
way. Like if it were real life, still, I'd be like, oh well, of course that's bad. Hope you
yeah,
can save those people. You know what I mean? But like, where's the level of investment? I guess when you get to know some of the people a bit more, then
yeah.
I don't know. Again, I think a lot of this is just like
I
quirks
did
of my own personality and psyche here.
I did find maybe just as much as there's a little bit of suspension of reality with House as you sort of introduce the mystery and Sherlock Holmes as parts of that show into the episodes. I did find one thing that sort of took me out a little bit is and I just define this as suspension of reality as well as these doctors, Dr. Rabinovich, all the others that worked with him, always seem to have the top line, like what is the solution to this specific thing? I mean, these are so they're getting smashed foots and organs that have failed and brain injury, just everything. They always seem to know exactly what to do, and they also seem to have three or four different backup things in case that didn't work. It's like I guess this is what ear doctors do, but their knowledge of what to do in any given, I mean, literally any given situation is just incredible. I have no idea if that's reality or not, but it's like they always knew the thing to do and three different things else to try if that one didn't work. It was pretty incredible that someone is either coming up with these or understands this concept that just boggles the mind that you can have that kind of knowledge.
Yeah, well, I mean, I hope that's relatively close to reality.
Yeah.
You got to go to a lot of school to become a doctor and all of that. I don't know.
You can specialize in emergency medicine, so you got to have a
Hmm.
little bit of knowledge of literally everything, and that's what this was about. And I found that part i- interesting and both just sort of brain numbing at the same time.
Yeah. What did you think about these elements of? I think this also relates to the feel of it being a little bit old school.
Mm,
Just from what I watch, there's already the thing about, oh, it's just the anniversary of his mentor's death, and what are you doing here today? You always take today off, but he
yeah,
didn't take today off. Like those elements, these are the ones that are not realistic, probably.
that's yeah.
Um,
The show starts with this combination of Dr. Robbie showing up, and I think is the doctor that he's relieving is Dr. Abbott. He has to kind of go talk him off the ledge, literally.
yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
And then this whole element of you're not normally here. This is the fourth anniversary of your mentor dying of COVID. Um, it's just all of these anxiety-inducing things, just even before we get to a case, right? There are medical students here that some of them know stuff, some of them don't. Some of them are there's a sense of nepotism because one of them, their parents are both important doctors at the hospital. So it's just all of these elements, all of this drama building up before the cases even start. So yeah, there's I would certainly say there's a little bit of that they're just trying to pile on so that it can, I guess, build arcs across the season as we get into some of this
Yeah.
stuff.
And it shouldn't have said unrealistic, and a more appropriate term might be like melodramatic.
Yeah, yeah,
Or
yeah.
it's just like a little overblown or heightened or
Yeah.
whatever. I made it about through too. There's a scene there in the first episode where it's like, I don't know, his boss or whatever, she comes in, is like she's yelling at him. I don't know what
Okay. Yeah. So
that's about as far as
this that was my least favorite part of the show. Almost every episode, there's the boss comes down from the upper floor to complain to Dr. Robbie about staffing and finances and efficiency, and we're gonna have to make big changes if you don't change something. And it's like, is this real? I mean, are there hospital administrators coming down to an ER 12 times a day to try
yeah,
to tell them to make things more efficient when they're literally trying to save patients' lives? It's like, all right, this is a little bit of overkill here.
interrupting your shift,
Yeah,
as
exactly.
opposed to like
Exactly.
having a meeting on a different day or something. Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah. That stuff really annoyed me.
yeah. Um, all right, other things that you want to hit on here, looking at our notes, maybe. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, just to say, I think I did an audit on this, and 13 total Emmy nominations, both in the primetime and the creative categories. So a lot of lot of different the technical aspects, the actors, the guest spots received Emmy nominations for this. And I guess it's worth mentioning that this show has come under a decent amount of legal trouble because for a number of years, Noah Wiley was trying to work with the Michael Crichton estate, and Michael Crichton was the executive producer and creator of ER, to create an ER spinoff. He was working with his wife on this. They were never able to make that happen. Noah Wiley meets Scott Gimel, and they start working before the pandemic about how a medical show could work if they were to create a new one. The Crichton estate thinks this is too similar. So now there was a suit for both the show and for Noah Wiley. So it's got some things that it has to sort out. They're in the middle of filming season 2, so I mean this is definitely happening. There is a lot more of this still to come, but kind of came under some interesting legal trouble. And I wonder if it's more of the Crichton estate thinking, man, why didn't we make this happen when we could have with this guy, 5, 6 years ago?
yeah, that's interesting. I don't know. I don't, off the top of my head, I don't know what I think about the merits of such a lawsuit. Like, I'm not a
Yeah,
lawyer or anything like that, but like, I don't know if you can copyright realistic emergency room drama.
that's right.
So, uh, like if it, because he's not the same character, it's the same actor, right?
Right, right.
It just seems to me like everything has to be different enough
Yeah,
that I don't know
yeah.
that this could go through. But I mean, we'll see. It's just, again, I'm not a lawyer, but it's not like um they're making a movie about a theme park where they
Yeah.
clone dinosaurs called T-Rex Land or
Yeah.
something. You know what I mean? Like it's no, it's an ER is about an emergency room. It's about an emergency room. Emergency rooms are real things that exist. They're after a certain realism
That's
in
right.
both
That's right.
cases.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see. I mean, it is
Yeah.
interesting potentially to follow what happens with that,
Yeah.
I suppose.
And then probably also worth mentioning that maybe similar to The Bear, but unlike most shows we get these days, they have made sort of a verbal commitment that they are going to, as long as HBO will let them, they're going to give one of these seasons a year. So we're going to get another season in January, right? So this is going to be, again, a model that we don't see much anymore. The week to week procedural that comes every year. You just don't get very much of this anymore. But they're already filming and going to be ready for season 2 in January.
Cool. And I know I've said this on the podcast before, right? But I really do feel, I'm going to say it again, because I really do feel that while on one level, okay, it feels like oh, there are years in between seasons of shows, and that's just how it is now. On another level, I think maybe we're going to keep being almost surprised at
Yeah.
how many shows are back year to year.
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
Because I think that that's what they always wanted to be doing.
Right.
It just got disrupted in multiple ways
Yeah.
for a while, right? It got disrupted by COVID, big
Yeah.
time. And then, of course, it got disrupted by the strikes and so on.
Hmm.
Um, so we'll see. I guess I'm curious, like I feel like I saw something with Ben Stiller recently where he was expressing some envy
Mm.
for the creators of the Bear. He's like, why can't I make Severance this fast?
Yeah.
That's okay. So there's that kind of thing as well. Like he's basically saying, as a director, I just can't do it that fast. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But
Yeah.
how much of that is there as opposed to the way in which a lot of these shows have dealt with these kinds of production delays and so on and so forth, right? Like Only Murders in the Building is coming back
Yep.
next month.
Yep.
That's been on also a pretty quick kind of schedule,
Yeah.
a yearly kind of schedule. So
Yeah, it does depend on the type of show you're producing. Severance maybe, but more towards this, this type of category. I mean, you can't do Game of Thrones every year, right? But yeah, Only Murders in the Building, which is combined to apartment sets and just largely one location. You can. This Pitt set is a sort of, even though it's quite large, it's a closed. This is where we are. We're in here every single day. We're not having to go on location all the time. So yeah, if you're building your show around that, you can certainly get it out in a year, when like some others would just because of locations, because of effects, other things just can't do it.
yeah. Anyway, we'll see. I'm just
Yeah.
putting it out there, to the extent that we all feel like everything takes multiple years for the new season to come out. I'm not sure that they ever wanted it to be that way. And so if things are sufficiently normal, we might start seeing again more and more shows that are just coming out every year, right?
Yeah.
Maybe we get used to that again. But okay, thanks always for listening. Hopefully you enjoyed the podcast. If so, please do leave a good rating, review, all that good stuff. Check out TVObsessive.com. You can find written work there on any number of shows, past and present, and so on. Find the site on social media. You search for TV Obsessive. You should find us on whatever platform. If you're not on YouTube, I encourage you or ask you kindly, go to YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're going to be back on Wednesday, this coming week, the 13th, to talk about the premiere of Alien Earth. If somehow people aren't familiar, this is the new show in the Alien universe, coming from Noah Hawley, who's done Fargo and Legion. And
Yeah.
is that it? Maybe there's only two I want to mention. TV shows? Was there another TV show I'm
That's
missing?
right.
Anyway, hopefully you'll join us for that. And our plan is to be back basically each Wednesday as that airs um, until late September.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. I just want to put that out there. I mean, seeing good things, I'm really looking forward to this show. So hopefully it's as good as we hope.
Yeah, I'm curious, and well, we'll talk about it on Wednesday. But I feel like I think I did see something where Noah Hawley said that he's ignoring Prometheus. So
Yes, I did see that.
I'm all for that personally, but we'll see. The universe of the Alien is wonky already. Like presumably he's also ignoring Alien versus Predator, for example. Anyway, we'll see you all on Wednesday.
All right, let's do it then.